Hi, I'm Roy Collin, the host of the podcast. You can find everything about me by scanning the QR code there or going to roycollin.com, and you'll find my 6 podcasts: the Podfather, helping people become podcasters; the Awakening, exposing fraud and corruption but with solutions; the Crypto, all things blockchain technology; Meditation podcast, Speaking podcast, and the Learn Polish podcast. You can also help the show by actually making a donation, visiting the store, or helping my sponsors. I hope you enjoyed this week's show. Welcome to the Meditation Podcast. You can find all our episodes on the meditationpodcast.org. My guest today, he's an author, I believe, of 4 books. Maybe it's more at this stage, or he could be working on more, but we'll find out. He's a podcaster, which I always love, a mental health counselor, and a consciousness researcher in Tennessee, USA. Please welcome Dean Graves.
Good morning, Roy. Well, good day, Roy.
And then it's good morning.
This morning.
Yeah, we were just discussing that it's 4 p.m. and 9 a.m., but that's the beauty of technology. We can have a conversation.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate you having me on your show.
Yeah, no problem. So, I want to just get a bit to learn a bit more about you. You're obviously doing a lot, but I want to kind of know your journey, how you got into all of this.
Okay. Well, my journey began possibly late in life. I led a normally unspectacular life, just, making a living, raising a family, that sort of thing. And plus or minus around my 50th year, what I learned later was having an awakening. And awakening is often a misunderstood event. It is nothing more than that point in life that we get to, that we have the realization that all the things that I've been doing in my life are not fulfilling. They're not giving me the happiness that I think that we're supposed to have as humans. And so from that point, for me, and as I understand the same for everyone that has this experience, we begin to search around for alternatives to how we have been living, how we have been perceiving our life and purpose. And we look for alternatives. And meditation, since this is the focus of your podcast, was definitely an avenue that was transformative to me. I did not meditate with any regularity, if at all, prior to this awakening. But meditation began an exploration of meditation itself, but also myself, and was the basis for all that I do now, and transformative in my perceptions of myself and of life in general. The process of meditation, and I teach meditation. I've taught meditation for about 20 years. Meditation, you can't teach meditation without teaching mindfulness, so the two are hand in glove, as well as teaching things that I have learned as a result of my experiences in meditation. But most people, if not all people, if they weren't raised as children to learn to meditate, is usually approached by people because they're running away from the stick. They're experiencing life and it's not pleasant. It's not as fulfilling as they like for it to be or need for it to be. And so consequently, we begin meditation under very difficult circumstances. For the most part, we're usually in a moderate, if not high degree of chaos in our life and in our thoughts and in our experiences. We're experiencing a lot of stress of one sort over another. And we begin to meditate, and through diligence, we begin to transform who we are until one day we're no longer running away from the stick because we've gotten a bite of the apple. And the apple tastes really good. So our motivation to meditate totally changes. And I equated it similar to running. Someone who has just begun running, it's painful to run, and your expectations are far beyond your capacities. And so we begin to meditate until one day we get this bite of the apple, and then we begin to meditate after we've had this bite of the apple because it feels good, and we want more of that, and we want more of the results and our attitudes and behaviors that result from that experience. Invariably, our experiences are the same as they're immutable. When we meditate, when we make the progress that we are all destined to make, then the experiences and the conditions of being that we experience are virtually the same. And so when I teach my students and explain to my students, what we're actually doing is, today, you and I are analog projections of our metaphysical self. So we are existing essentially in parallel, but they're not separate. So it's not like they're two separate experiences. When we meditate, we are learning to go into the guru's cave, which is our metaphysical self. While we are not meditating, when we are going through life and having everyday experiences, we're in the village. All problems exist in the village. And just like we go on vacation to get a reprieve from the stresses of our workaday life and the problems of our workaday life, going into meditation is allowing ourselves to go into that guru's cave and have a brief vacation from our experiences in the village. And so it allows us to transform our perspectives of the problems we face with everyday life, as well as our perception of self. As consciousness beings, we are on an evolutionary track. And that evolutionary track is synonymous with enlightenment. Enlightenment often is thought of as a destination, but it's not a destination, it's the path itself. And as we advance along this path, then we appear to others who have not consciously undertaken the path to be having attained a certain degree of advancement towards that perceived definition of becoming enlightened. And so what we are actually doing by developing a meditation process is learning to become familiar with awareness, which is the tool that we are tasked with learning and becoming in the range of consciousness that we all share, but learning to also redirect that awareness inwardly as opposed to having it pointed outside of us. It is directional. And so what meditation does, what allowing ourselves to go into that guru's cave on a frequent basis, is to learn to invert that awareness inside and begin to change the only thing that we can change, which is ourselves. And we become aware of distortions of perception that perpetuate our chaos and our stress and our unhappiness by dwelling only in the village and allowing ourselves to surrender those perceptions, perceptual distortions that we perceive ourselves to be, and evolve, advance along that enlightenment path.
And with the meditations that you practice and teach, are they kind of silent, guided, or with music?
Well, my own meditation practice began with guided meditations, and that's very helpful to people. And when I teach a meditation class, depending on the class, I usually begin with a guided introduction, which serves essentially as a transition tool to help people get from their everyday village persona into a more relaxed and more inwardly focused perspective. And then I shut up and I let them do their meditation for a period of time after that. So I'm simply a guide with the guided meditations that I do. I'm simply a guide to help them make that transition into that meditative state to whatever degree they're able to do that, and for whatever period of time they were able to do that. And it is it's strength building. It's building the strength of our control of that awareness, of that that mindset, and allowing themselves to sink into that deeper and deeper meditative state.
And with the mental health, then, is it something from that you saw that it was helping people, or have you actually just, that's part of what you're created?
Well, it is, everyone begins from wherever they are. You can't wish that you were in a different place and begin from that different place. So they begin wherever they are. And understand that what we are learning to do by meditating is to take control of our thoughts. Thoughts are processed by the mind. And there is great misunderstanding, if not total lack of understanding of what a mind is. In a mind, and we're currently functioning with several minds. We don't have just one mind. But a mind is nothing more than a bundle or a collection of beliefs. And that creates a lens through which we view and interpret our life experiences. People perceive that experiences come to us with emotion on them, but that's not true. No experience has emotion. Every experience is absolutely devoid of any emotion. If you and I were standing on a street corner and there were crowds of people around other street corners, and there was a major auto accident in the middle of the intersection, everyone that participated in that experience would have a different interpretation. They may all dislike the experience. It may be uncomfortable, which in and of itself is stress. But we would all interpret that experience uniquely because of the condition of being that we are in. And so that condition of being is a result of the minds that we have created based upon our historical experience during our lifetime. The process of healing is the process of inwardly directing that awareness to become aware of essentially two things. Most people are going to have collected a significant amount of what is called emotional baggage, which is nothing more than unresolved experiences from their lifetime. And also the bundle of beliefs that they've incorporated into their mind. This incorporation of beliefs in their mind creates a perception of self. The entire process of evolution of consciousness and consequently of advancing along the enlightenment path is becoming aware of the multitude of beliefs that we have incorporated into our ego mind, the mind that we use to deal with everyday events in the village, and begin to throw those out, to begin to surrender those so that we become more of our authentic self. And our authentic self is virtually undistorted. And the Buddha speaks of becoming an empty vessel. And that is essentially what occurs when we achieve significant success in surrendering our beliefs that we have used to develop these multitude of minds that we function within. that every experience comes to us. We're able to enjoy the experience for the lessons that that experience brings to us at the time. We learn the lesson and then dismiss the experience as having provided us with additional information about ourselves. Now, because we are in a relatively low range of consciousness development, the entirety of the population, that's the nature of our experience, we seldom, if ever, learn the lessons that are brought to us in our life experiences. And so that's like a homework assignment. Every experience that we have that is stressful, meaning that we interpret it with an unwantedness or an unpleasantness, we don't like that experience, it doesn't feel good, then we get to keep that homework assignment until we do the homework assignment. If you have a homework assignment and you don't do it for whatever reason, that doesn't mean that the homework is still not due. It just means you didn't do it. And so we get to keep this homework assignment in the form of emotion. And so this accumulates over a lifetime and allows us to, at any time, go in and learn the lesson that we've stored as emotion and then let that go. If you think of all of these experiences that we've had, these lessons that we've had brought to us, have a textbook assigned that is assigned to us with that experience. And you may recall from school, textbooks are significantly heavier than regular books. And so we have to carry those textbooks with us until we do our homework assignment. When we do our homework assignment, then we can put that textbook down and never have to pick it up again. But if we don't, then we have to carry that textbook with us until we do our homework. And if you don't do your homework for 30 days, then you've got a load of textbooks that are very heavy that are our obligation to carry until we do our homework assignment. People that experience depression or just wake up in the morning feeling blah, or all sorts of mental diagnosis and difficulties, invariably their condition, if you ask them, how does this condition feel, regardless of all of the byproducts that psychology has defined, it feels heavy. It's okay, so what possibly could feel heavy? Well, what feels heavy is this emotional baggage you're carrying for not having done the homework assignments that have been assigned to you over the course of your lifetime. Now, what meditation allows us to do is learn the lessons to do our homework that has been assigned to us by virtue of the experiences that we've had. Invariably, the condition that people experience is feeling lighter because of the meditation process. As we do this, and as we simultaneously let go of these beliefs that have brought us the unpleasant experiences that we've had in our lifetime, then we begin to feel lighter. When we feel lighter, then we have liberated the energy that we all have. We all have the same potential amount of energy available to us within this range of consciousness. And we are able to use that energy to fuel the awareness that we all have, which is our tool for learning as well as our tool for healing, to do more work. In other words, I use the analogy or the metaphor of before you were born, you were told that your mission in life is to run down to the end of the street. That's all you have to do to have a tremendously successful life, is just run down to the end of the street. And you're thinking, oh my God, look, I got some new running shoes they've been giving me. I've got this really nice running outfit, and I'm going to zip down to the end of the street and have a successful life. And then after you start running, somebody comes up to you and says, here is a 300-pound ball of concrete. Now, your mission is the same to get down to the end of the street, but you've got to carry this 300-pound ball of concrete with you. And you're thinking, oh, my God, I can't run with this 300-pound ball of concrete. I've got to somehow get rid of this ball of concrete in order to accomplish my mission. In this ball of concrete are all of the lessons that you didn't learn, all those textbooks, all that emotional baggage that you have to carry with you. And so it is perfectly permissible, and very few, if any, people are able to do this, but Eckhart Tolle is a good example of someone who can put the whole ball of concrete down at one time and complete their mission of running down to the end of the street. But most of us have to take chunks of that concrete out at a single stroke until the ball of concrete eventually dissipates. In that ball of concrete are all the lessons that we're supposed to have learned. And so with the extraction of a piece of that ball of concrete is removed by our learning the lessons that have been brought to you and our fulfilling of the curriculum of this range of consciousness, so that we can more easily fulfill our purpose of running down to the end of the street. Meditation focuses our awareness. The only thing that it does is focus our awareness inside. All of the techniques that psychologists and therapists use to facilitate healing, if they are an effective process, do the same thing. They focus in a concentrated fashion awareness inside to help us become aware of the of the emotional baggage and also the beliefs that we have incorporated into this hierophant, this false perception of self, so that we can let those go. And when we do, we reduce our stress. Bliss is nothing more, the condition of being blissful is nothing more than the absence of stress. So the more that we can liberate ourselves from this emotional baggage, taking chunks out of the ball of concrete, and surrender our false perceptions of self, these false beliefs that we've incorporated to create this ego mind, then the more happiness we experience, because happiness fills the void that is left, automatically fills the void by reducing the stress. And so we all already, underneath our stressful existence, are happy. And it's just like a liquid or water. You know, if you create a void, it's going to flow in there, and we experience greater happiness as we reduce our stress. Meditation is by far the most effective method for doing that, because it is our commitment to becoming or taking control of our experience, of our life experience, using the tools that we all have, which is awareness, to invert that awareness instead of trying to manipulate the world to conform to our hierophant, our false perception of self, and focus that awareness inwardly to become aware of the distortions that we have incorporated into our being and has created this false perception of self. So I've rambled. You haven't asked me any questions.
No, but I'm listening away. I'm listening intently.
I know you are, but
So
I'm dominating the conversation. Overwhelming.
no, it's good. It's good. So, like, I mean, you mentioned, like our life experiences, the education we do and everything. I think it's even the books. I mean, I read hundreds of books, and sometimes if somebody asks me what's it about, I can't even, but I think later it resurfaces when it's needed. When people then say, oh, I got a download, I got it from the universe or what, like, I believe it's coming from within. The brain has stored it and it's coming out. But I'm curious on how you think that's actually, like, even sometimes people create a patent of something that never existed, or they get this fantastic idea. Where's that coming from?
And because of our limited perceptions of self, we perceive that we create thought. We don't create thought. We are magnetic according to how we are. We attract thoughts. All of creation is a thought experiment. So every thought that we could possibly think has already been created. and we attract that thought according to how we are. So we are attracting perpetually negative thoughts because that's the way that we are. And this healing process, the enlightenment process, is becoming aware of that and becoming aware of what we have incorporated inside of ourselves that creates our condition of being, and we're going to perpetually attract those thoughts. Now, in our range of consciousness, consciousness can be scaled, and it is scaled from way below us to way above us. And we are relatively low on that consciousness scale as a population, as a human experience. Within the range of consciousness that we experience, we attain a median level of awareness, of consciousness. But we oscillate above and below that median level. When we are feeling really good and we're not experiencing any significant stress, we are towards the peak of our high oscillation above that median level. And the next day, or even in the same day, when we're feeling down or very heavy, then we've oscillated below that median level line. As we progress, as our median level advances, then the degree of oscillation between that high and low peak moderates and becomes more closely aligned with our median level. So we don't, as we advance, we don't experience those extremes of high and low, which often is identified as the bipolar tendencies, and that's where there are reasons. Bipolar is a little bit more difficult to explain. It's not quite as simple as the above and below oscillations, but we all experience that peak and valley of oscillation above and below the median line. What we are doing by healing is healing that emotional baggage, letting those distortions of beliefs that we've incorporated into our identity or our hierophant. As we release those, when we are raising that median level of our advancement along the enlightenment path. And so consequently, that will continue. That continues way below, beyond our range of consciousness. But the farther we go, the less variation in those peaks and valleys of that oscillation occur. Meditation allows us to become aware of these things that we need to heal. It is both the discovery tool and the healing tool, because if you go out your front door one morning and you're headed to work and you see that your car has a flat tire, well, you've discovered the problem. You're not going to walk away from that car and never use it again because it has a problem. You're going to get the tire fixed. Whether you do it yourself or you call somebody to do it for you, you're going to fix the problem. The same is true when we discover the emotional baggage and or the belief that we've incorporated into our identity. When we discover the problem, we're not just going to let it lay there. We're going to get rid of it. We're going to let it go. We're going to fix it. So that problem no longer has to appear again. It no longer becomes part of our magnetic attraction of those thoughts that have perpetuated our stress.
You mentioned the ego earlier, and with the craziness that's happened in the last kind of 4 years, and currently as well, there's people, they have their belief system, and then there's like concrete evidence kind of proving that they were wrong, but they'll never put up their hand and say, yeah, because I think the ego is getting in the way, maybe it's shame. What's the best way of dealing with that without hurting the person?
Well, understanding the problem first is essential to that understanding. We are designed, we function as a range of consciousness. We function according to an archetypical mind. And the archetypical mind is simply a blueprint for how we will interpret experiences. And through the course of our evolution, we become aware of how we process thoughts, and we surrender the structure of this archetypical mind. In our range of consciousness, we are designed to create a hierophant, a false identity, an ego. It's all the same thing. There's no difference other than the label that we put on it. And we also begin in a condition of being in chaos and unconscious. And as we heal, as we surrender these distortions of perception, as we advance along the enlightenment path, then we become aware of our unconsciousness, which is the awakening, and we begin to surrender that. So that no longer is a hindrance to us. But while we remain below this level of unconsciousness, and we are designed to create this hierophant, this self-perception that we are autonomous beings, we try to manipulate the world around us to conform to this false identity that we've created. Now, the purpose of the false identity, or what the behavior that results from this false identity, is that we are all motivated to get more of what we like. Now, what we may perceive that we like is different, and that's okay. That's the uniqueness of our exploration. But what we are all motivated to get more of what we like, and what we are striving to do by creating this hierophant is to trick the world into giving us more of what we like. If I dress a certain way, if I behave a certain way, if I have go to certain schools, if I have certain friends, whatever we've incorporated into this false identity, if I can get just the right identity, then the world will love me. It will give me more of what I like. If I have lots of money, the world will love me and give me more of what I like. And so what we are doing is we're trying to trick the world into loving us. And we're all motivated to get love, but the paradox is we don't know what love is. And so we're not only trying to get more of what we like, more love, we don't know what love is, so we don't really know. We're learning what it is that we're attracting, what we want to get more of. As we elevate our awareness and progress along the enlightenment scale, we will surpass this level of unconsciousness, which is the awakening that we talked about earlier in the conversation. And we become aware of these beliefs that we've incorporated into our false identity, into our ego or hierophant, and also the emotional baggage that we've collected as a result of not doing our homework. And we begin to surrender those. As we do that, we become more of our authentic self. We perceive as a population, and there are exceptions to this, obviously, but we perceive that love is something that we can get, that it is a commodity that we get from other people. That's a misconception. Love is a condition of being. In all the times that a person in their life may have felt loved, or they felt love, is as a result of the person, the people, or the situation that they're in at that time has allowed them the opportunity to surrender that false perception of self, that hierophant, that false identity. And they were feeling their authentic self, which is already the condition of love. And so the healing is getting rid of these false perceptions of self, and being more of our authentic self is already what we are seeking. And so the healing is just getting rid of the garbage that we piled on top of our authentic self because of our lack of understanding, our low degree of awareness of who and what we really are. The Buddha spoke of we don't have to get anything. We already are what we seek. But we have a lot of stuff to get rid of. All the stuff that we have to get rid of is our false perceptions of self. So there.
Oh, very good. When, like in life's experiences, people would go, yeah, my intuition was telling me differently. Sometimes people feel it in the gut. What exactly is going on when people feel intuition?
When they're feeling what now?
Intuition. Your head might be saying, yeah, I'll do this deal, but your body is kind of saying not. You're like...
Well, the feeling is what is important. People also misunderstanding that our consciousness advancements is an intellectualization and understanding of concepts. It's not. It is purely the feeling. Every thought that we process, every thought that we attract is in and of itself a complete experience. Now, because of our low degree of awareness, we perceive an experience to last 30 minutes, an hour, some period of time. Within those perceived experience are dozens of thoughts. And every thought, we are obligated to make the decision of whether the thought feels good and I like it, or it doesn't feel good and I don't like it. That adjudication of that thought is a complete emotion. There's nothing more to an emotion other than that decision at the time that we're having it, that I like it or I don't like it. And that's predicated upon the identity that we've created, that perception of self, and the numerical number of experiences, because we learn by analogy. We learn by comparison and processing. And so the entire perceived experience, if we have adjudicated 2 or 3 or even or more of those individual thoughts as not feeling good, then we deem that whole experience to be negative, to not conform. It doesn't meet our expectations because it didn't give us more of what we like. Now, the lesson to us is not that the experience was unpleasant, but what is it about us that is challenged by that experience, and it challenges us by not meeting our expectation. It doesn't give us more of what we like. So the lesson is not about the experience. The lesson is about us. What is it that I need to become aware of inside of me, my mind or emotional baggage, that is prohibiting me from enjoying the lesson that this experience is bringing me? So every experience that we have, we make this adjudication as a whole or individually if we're more aware, to use the benefit of that to further our advancement along the enlightenment path. Now, someone who has deemed to have been to have experienced a trauma in their life, a trauma is an interesting concept and differs from a normal stressful experience because there is a happening that we as humans experience where our awareness leaves our body. In other words, we're not able to direct the awareness either inwardly or outwardly. It leaves our body. And that is a condition that precipitates behavior that we describe as shock. Someone who has experienced a significant life event, oftentimes in wartime, but it can be a tornado destroying your home, some significant event, and sometimes people will enter a condition of shock. And what that condition of shock is their awareness has left their body, literally left their body. Their spirit is still in their body, but their awareness has left their body. In order to get them or to heal them from that condition of shock, you have to incrementally lead their awareness back inside of their body. And you do that by touch. For example, someone experiencing touch, if you'll cause them to become aware, I'm going to touch your knee. I want you to tell me when you feel my touch on your knee. And then move. I want you to feel my touch on your elbow. I want you to feel my touch on your shoulder. I want you to feel my touch on your chest. As you do that, they're invariably able to do that, but that's leading that awareness and giving them permission to bring that awareness back inside, which will lead them out of that condition of shock. When we have an experience that we deem to be traumatic, then that same condition occurs on an individual thought basis. And say, just hypothetically, that you've had a traumatic experience in which you process 36 thoughts. Out of that 36 thoughts, any one of those individual thought processes that were challenging to your perception of self enough to cause you to project your awareness outside of your body, therefore being unable to make that adjudication of I like it or I don't like it for that particular thought, will usually create the impression that that entire 36 thought experience is a trauma, is traumatic. And in order to heal that condition as being traumatic, it is necessary to guide that individual to finish the processing of those individual thoughts within that whole 36 thought perceived experience. When you do that, the perceived emotion for that entire experience clears and removes that from a traumatic experience. They may think, well, that wasn't a pleasant experience, but the emotion off of it is gone that was hindered, and they heal from that trauma. And in my mental health work, this is primarily what I work with people on is traumas. And I've never found more than 4 individual thoughts in that experience that they were, even in the most extreme cases, that needed to be healed in order to clear that whole experience of the emotion. And once that is healed, then their awareness can take over and finish off the resolution of the trauma, so it's no longer a hindrance, no longer a trauma for them.
With the books, then, I believe it's 4 books. You might just briefly what each book is about, and you're covering these topics as well.
Sure, yeah. I have 4 books. The 4th one is being commercially published, and it will be available on bookshelves August 30th around the world. It's an English publisher, and they're publishing significant distribution of it. But it's called The Enigma of Consciousness, a spiritual exploration of humanity's relationship to creation. And that is, so far, my compendium book. It explains all of this that we've talked about, as well as the structure of creation. It explains, I've got about 7 chapters on the archetypical mind and the different aspects of the archetypical mind. It talks about forgiveness. It talks about Christ consciousness, what Christ consciousness actually is. It explains why we have had saints and people that have been stellar spiritual performers in our history as well as in current day experience. It explains how creation began, how and why creation began. It is complete a representation of what I have learned over the past 20, 25 years as I can make. The other books, The Beginning, Enlightenment, Plain and Simple, which is all of these others are available now on Amazon. Enlightenment, Plain and Simple is an introductory book to explain what enlightenment is and to get people to get started on the path. It has some simple, focused tools that people can begin to use to heal or alleviate physical difficulties as well as mental and emotional stresses. The Identity Model is another book, and that deals primarily with stress and suffering. It explains the identity model. It is targeted towards mental health professionals, but it is not difficult to read. You need no background in mental health training in order to understand it and self-apply the techniques that are offered in the book, and it is a step up from enlightenment, plain and simple. It's more intense, but it is limited in scope to help people begin understanding and healing the process. My other book that is now available on Amazon is called Edifying Children of a Lesser God, which is an introduction to and a prequel to the Enigma book, the Enigma of Consciousness. And it explains many of the hegemonies and the ideologies that populations have created and collected and categorizes. It's an overview of the nature, the structure of creation, and hopefully helps people contextualize the nature of their experience in relation to existing beliefs and hegemonies that pervade the world population. I have 2 podcasts. One is called Simple Enlightenment, which is a course study in developing consciousness. And I have an ongoing podcast called Chatting with the Arcturians, which my significant other and I chat frequently with the Arcturians, which is a sister, if not more advanced, big sister, more experienced participant in the creation process. And they're very helpful in contextualizing what's going on now, as well as helping us understand this. So that's all that I'm doing. Not nearly as much as you're doing, Ron.
No, it's you're doing a lot. So thanks very much, Dean. So you might let people know where can they find you?
Well, they can find the 3 books on Amazon. I have a website called the initial D, deangraves.org, and it explains, it's how they can get in contact with me, is how it explains more of the services that I try to offer to people, as well as direct references to the podcasts and the books themselves. The podcasts are available on all major podcast hosts, and we try to, particularly the conversations with the Arcturians, and in the last 3 episodes, they have assumed a more serious nature. The previous episodes are a little bit lighter, and we've had members of the Federation of Planets participate in the communication with us, and they're more serious folks. But we're about to experience more significant changes to what we perceive as normality. And it's an exciting time for humanity, and humanity is provided with some significant opportunities to transform themselves and transform the nature of their experience. So it's an exciting time to be alive.
No, that's for sure. That's for sure. So Dean, I'll make sure I'll put the website both in the audio and the video. Thank you very much.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Roy.
So that's all for the meditation podcast. You'll find all the episodes on meditation.podcast.org. Be sure to give us a thumbs up, 5-star rating, share with your friends, and comment on what we were discussing. Until next week, take care.
So I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. As mentioned at the start, you can find my 6 podcasts on roycollin.com or scan the QR code if you're looking to start a podcast or do a podcasting tour, help with that. Also, if you're looking for a virtual assistant, we also have that service. And you can help the show by visiting the store, supporting our sponsors, or making a donation. Until next week, take care.